afternoon. And this time we're going to look at trotting with a fixed spool reel this time. Not something I do an awful lot, but before I got into the centre pins that was a standard method. So we'll look at that. And I've got a lovely pool here, just flip the camera around. Lovely pool on the local river, which I have to confess, although it's a 5-minute walk from my home, I haven't been down here for quite some years in the winter coarse fishing. I fished up through it with the trout flies this spring, but it used to hold a lot of roach, chub, some big dace and a good shoal of perch, as well as the resident brown trout. Whether it's like that, whether it's still like that, I'm not sure. These things have a tendency to change from one year to the next, so remains to be seen. Anyway, at least I can demonstrate the trotting. So I'm going to use bread, and I've got some worms as well, so I might try the worms for the perch later. The only trouble is with that, I'm likely to contact the odd trout as well. Right, so let's have a quick look at the baits I've got. Obviously bread. I've boiled some hemp freshly this morning. Much cheaper buying it dried and boiling your own than getting it in the cans in the tackle shops. And I've ground up some breadcrumb there, so I'm going to put a bit of breadcrumb in that bait bucket, not too much, and that's the water from the hemp. Don't throw it down the sink, try and keep the water after you've sieved the hemp, after you've boiled it. And I'm going to put a bit of that in the breadcrumb to give it a hemp flavour, just a little bit. Should be enough just to make a bit of a mush, and I'm going to add some hemp to that as well and get it into this swim in front of me just before I start. Okay, let's look at the setup. This time, just for convenience, I'm using a light ledger rod. It's actually the wrong thing to use, it's a quiver tip on the end, but it's a small stream. A short rod's no great handicap, in fact quite an advantage a lot of the time. I've got a small Avon float on, this time just one BB bulk shot there and a number 4 dropper, and it's a size 14 hook for the bread flake. And we're just going to trot the edge of this crease here where you can see where the current meets that sort of backwater and it starts flowing backwards. That sort of crease where the two sort of zones meet is likely to be the place that holds the fish. From memory, I think it's around about 3.5 feet deep, so I'm just going to start there and maybe add a bit of depth on successive trots until I find the fish, or decide that there's no fish there whatsoever. So a tiny bit of bread flake, just pinch around the hook, nice fresh bread, and a bit more of this slop going in, and we'll start the first trot. 9 company here. This is the one place I would have thought you wouldn't be swimming your dog, but right, he's getting right up that bank there. Well done. I don't think I could climb that. Right, so let's try it. Right, so what I'm doing, I'm just letting that line go off the spool, keeping my finger on just on the edge there to control it, and you can see it just pulling off. I can slow it down by just putting my finger on now and again. The visibility is not great, I can't see the float now. Right, out there. Just coming into the backwater now, which if memory serves me right holds a bit of a shoal of roach. So to respond to a bite, what I need to do is immediately turn that bail arm over. This is the difficult bit, because when you do get the bite, you sort of stop it with your finger there, and there's an awkward transition time between that bail arm coming over and moving your finger, where you've got that momentary slack line, which is part of the reason or one of many reasons that I prefer personally the centre pin reel for trotting, but there we go. Let's give it another go. Down the swim. And let him go. Open the bail arm and let the current take it down. Just keeping it to this side of that faster current, so it's just ambling along that edge. That's where I want it. Holding back now and again. Just keep the bait in front of the float. And now it finds its way back into the backwater, starts coming round, gone under. Oh, don't think there's anything there. Now I've closed the bail arm because it's just milling around in that backwater. I'll let it search there for a minute or two. Trouble is with bread, you've got to keep checking it's still there because it does bump off quite easily. It's very soft in the water. And this time just edge it down that crease there. The crease is where the fast and slow currents meet, or in this case where the reverse current meets the regular current. There's something worth noting here. In an ideal world I'd have a bit more line on that reel. The spool should be a little bit fuller than that. You want to have maybe about, I don't know, a couple of millimeters of spare on that collar there, so that the line spills off nice and smoothly. To be fair, I don't use this reel for trotting at all. It's only for demonstration purposes today, really. So I normally use it for ledgering, and the sort of smooth trip of line coming off the spool isn't quite as crucial because I'm not casting great distances. Okay, slight change of tack, and we've got a worm on, which given a bit of luck might attract a perch for us, so let's swim that round. This doesn't work, we're going to move swim for the last half hour of daylight or so. Look like a bite and something on. See that awkward little moment when you have to change the spool over. What have we got? Oh, it's a perch. Right, not a big one, but nice lively perch. Oh, he's gone. That was a quick release, and we've still got our worm. So let's try that spot again. We know we've got fish there. Either the silvers aren't in this pool anymore, or they're just not playing. So I've to change to the worm, I've stepped up to a bigger float now. I can see a bit better as it's going dark in the pool, purer light. So there we go. And this is one of the reasons it's always worth having a change bait available, because there wasn't an awful lot happening on the bread. I'm not sure whether the silvers still live here. Very limited distribution in this river. other than trout, which are pretty well spread right the way through. There are a few perch here and there, a few shoals of perch, and that seems to be the most common of the coarse fish, certainly in this area anyway. It's quite close to my home. Miles and miles downriver, where it's a bigger, slow river, obviously there's more coarse fish. I think that might have been a bite there. I've got something else. Yep. Another fish on. And again, it's a perch. There we go. Slightly bigger one this time. Just get him in the net. I don't want to break off that little point. I could have maybe swung in, but there we go. No, that's not a big one at all, maybe 5 ounces. But nice high shoulder. Lovely looking fish. So, there he goes. So every time I put a worm on, I break the tail off and put the tail in as a bit of extra ground bait. And while I'm fishing on worm, I'm just going to keep introducing a little bit of bread into this swim, and you never know, last light we might get a roach or a chub or a dace or something on the bread. Is that another? Float just dipped there. And there's another. Oh, that's a good fish. That is a good one. Oh, this is bonny perch. Yeah, better one. Well, an indication, just a bit of a drag on the float. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's a nice meaty one. Look at that. Oh, he's turning it back a bit, that. Spat the worm back up the line. There we go. That's lovely. That's a nice sergeant there. Something else on, but not a very big one, I don't think. Is it? Oh, I don't know. Not bad. Well, quite meaty one, actually. Yep. Quite meaty one. And this is just dead simple fishing. Cheapest bait of the lot, worms out of the garden. Cost absolutely nothing. That's the second fish on the same worm now, so let's see how many we can get. Well, the purpose of this session was basically just to demonstrate that bit of trotting with a fixed spool reel, and I haven't got a great deal of confidence in that pool producing much, especially this time of the year. It's you know, the start of the winter usually pretty hit and miss, but I found that little clutch of perch there which has been most welcome. So yeah, good session. Totally failed on the silvers, but it just shows it's always worth taking a change of bait. I never bothered buying any maggots. I mean, I was only out for an hour or two, but I always pack those worms, just half a dozen worms. That's all I needed to make it into quite an enjoyable and relatively productive session. So okay, if you like the content, please subscribe and share, and with a bit of luck I'll see you again in the very near future for the next session, either on the river or on the lake. Cheers, take care, bye.